December 16, 1944. 5:30 a.m. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, Versailles. The windows rattle before the phones begin to ring. Outside, a winter fog presses low against the palace grounds, thick and unmoving. Inside, the maps are still. Red and blue pins mark a stable front stretching across Belgium and Luxembourg. The Ardennes sector is quiet, thinly held by green American divisions resting after the autumn push. Then the first reports arrive. Artillery barrage, sir, heavy, entire front. Another line crackles through, German infantry crossing the Our River, tanks, lots of them. In the forest of the Ardennes, 1,600 German guns have opened fire in a single, coordinated storm. Shells rip through the frozen air, smashing into foxholes of the U.S. 106th Infantry Division. Telephone wires snap. Radios go silent. In the half-light of dawn, silhouettes move between the trees, Panzer IVs, Panthers, even the long-barreled shadows of Tigers. You can almost hear it from Versailles, the metallic grinding of tracks biting into snow. General Dwight D. Eisenhower stands over the operations table as the situation reports accumulate. He is calm, outwardly. A cigarette burns slowly between his fingers, but his eyes scan the map differently now. The Ardennes. That sector was considered a backwater, a quiet front. Intelligence believed German armor was shattered after Normandy and the Falaise pocket. The Luftwaffe was nearly invisible. Allied airpower ruled the skis. But today there are no skis. Cloud cover sits heavy over Belgium, grounding Allied fighter bombers. No P-47 Thunderbolts. No Typhoons screaming low over roads. The weather has done what German steel could not. It has blinded the Allies. Another dispatch arrives. St. Vith under pressure, roadblocks collapsing. American units reporting German troops in U.S. uniforms. Skorzeny. Otto Skorzeny's commandos are spreading confusion behind the lines, changing signposts, cutting wires, whispering rumors of captured bridges and assassinated officers. Military police begin stopping their own men, demanding baseball trivia to confirm identity. The fog is no longer just in the sky, it's everywhere. By mid-morning, the scale becomes clearer. This is not a spoiling attack, not a reconnaissance in force. 3 German armies are moving: 6th Panzer Army under Sepp Dietrich in the north, 5th Panzer Army under Hasso von Manteuffel in the center, and 7th Army anchoring the south. Nearly 200,000 men, over 1,000 tanks and assault guns. Hitler has gambled everything. At 11:00 a.m., Eisenhower convenes his senior commanders. Omar Bradley listens grimly. Walter Bedell Smith studies casualty projections already climbing. The first aerial reconnaissance photos are useless, a white blur of cloud and smoke. The objective becomes horrifyingly clear: Antwerp. If German panzers reach the Meuse River and seize the port, the Allied front splits in two. British forces cut off from Americans, supply lines strangled, months of hard-won ground erased in a single thrust. Eisenhower's jaw tightens. He has seen German desperation before. Normandy, the V-weapon campaign, but this is calculated audacity. The Ardennes was chosen precisely because it was weak. And now it is breaking. Reports from the Schnee Eifel arrive: 2 American regiments surrounded, communications severed, units disintegrating under relentless artillery. In Bastogne, the 101st Airborne Division is being rushed toward a crossroads town most soldiers have never heard of. They will arrive in trucks, not parachutes. Snow crunching beneath boots, no winter coats for many of them. By late afternoon, the front line on Eisenhower's map is no longer straight. It bulges, a swelling protrusion westward, pushing into Allied territory. Officers begin calling it the Bulge. But a bulge can grow. And Eisenhower knows something else, something unspoken in that room. This attack required fuel, reserves, planning, which means German strength has been underestimated. He steps away from the map and looks toward the window, where the fog refuses to lift. Air power will not save them today. For the first time since D-Day, the initiative belongs to Hitler. And Eisenhower understands that if the German columns are not stopped quickly, this winter offensive could fracture the entire Allied alliance. The question is no longer whether this is serious. The question is how deep the knife will go. By nightfall, reports confirm armored spearheads moving faster than expected. The Ardennes is not holding. It is collapsing. And somewhere in the snow-covered forests, German panzers are racing for the Meuse. December 16, 1944, 6:45 p.m. SHAEF Operations Room, Versailles. The phones are ringing off the hook. Officers are shouting into headsets. Maps litter the tables, stained with ink and coffee. Outside, the winter darkness falls early, the fog thickening like a shroud over the quiet French countryside. Inside, there is no quiet. Eisenhower leans over the map again, tracing the jagged lines with a pencil. The reports are coming in too fast to read, too many to reconcile. The 2nd and 99th Divisions report enemy tanks in the rear. Bridges blown, towns burning. Convoys of retreating American soldiers clog narrow Ardennes roads. Vehicles abandoned, engines still warm, smoke curling from them. Bradley speaks softly but urgently. "Sir, the 28th Division is surrounded near Saint-Vith. Reports of German tanks pushing toward Bastogne." Eisenhower's mind races. Bastogne, a crossroads vital to controlling the central Ardennes. If the Germans seize it, they control the arteries of supply. The thought of Antwerp slipping from reach tightens the knot in his stomach. He lights another cigarette. The ember glows red, a tiny sun in the gloom of the operations room. Intelligence officers bring more reports. German forces are using captured Allied equipment, wearing American uniforms. They are infiltrating, sowing confusion behind the lines. Rumors of fake road signs, sabotaged communications, and intercepted orders circulate. It is chaos magnified, the enemy exploiting both steel and deception. Eisenhower realizes the full magnitude. This is no minor probe, no diversion. This is Hitler's last gamble. The Germans are throwing everything they have left into a single, concentrated strike, and the Allies are dangerously underprepared in this sector. He walks to the window, looking out across the Versailles gardens, imagining the forests of the Ardennes. The snow is silent, pristine, innocent. Yet through it, armored columns grind forward, unstoppable in their momentum. The sound may not reach here, but the reality does. The commanders gather around him. Omar Bradley, Courtney Hodges, and Walter Bedell Smith, faces pale, eyes wide. Eisenhower addresses them calmly but with a steel edge. This is no diversion. The Germans have committed a force we believed incapable of coordinated action. If they are not stopped, Antwerp is at risk, and the front may split. A heavy silence follows. Each officer processes the weight of the words. None speak immediately. The knowledge hangs like a storm cloud in the room. Outside, German shells continue to pound the Ardennes. Smoke rises from shattered villages. Snow turns red in patches. Tanks rumble along frozen roads, headlights cutting through the fog. They are moving faster than predicted. Eisenhower turns back to the map. His finger hovers over Bastogne, a small town, yet right now it is the pivot on which the fate of the Allied front may turn. He exhales smoke and mutters almost to himself. They may be faster than we anticipated, but not faster than we can respond. Yet even as he speaks, a report arrives that chills the room. A column of German tanks has already crossed the Our River in several locations. American artillery units are retreating. Forward observers are being captured. The first shock is complete. The Allies are not just surprised, they are being outmaneuvered, caught off guard, and pressed back. Eisenhower's mind does not linger on panic. It shifts to action. But even for the Supreme Commander, this is the moment when disbelief turns into grim calculation. The Ardennes is no longer a quiet sector. It is a battleground, a test of leadership under fire, and perhaps the defining trial of his command in Europe. Outside, the fog does not lift. The German advance continues, unstoppable for now. And the full scale of Hitler's gamble is only beginning to reveal itself. December 17, 1944, 7:15 a.m. Bastogne, Belgium. You can almost feel the freezing wind slicing through the pine trees, carrying the metallic scent of armored steel and smoke. Snow crunches beneath the boots of the 101st Airborne as they arrive in battered trucks, faces pale, hands numb. They have no time to rest, no warm billets to slip into. Bastogne is surrounded, yet no one speaks of surrender. Back at SHAEF, Eisenhower watches the situation reports with a growing sense of urgency. Every dispatch carries the same thread. The German advance is faster than anticipated, coordination tighter, and the weather perfect for masking their movements. The clouds that ground Allied aircraft also conceal the approaching storm of German armor. He taps his fingers on the table. Radios crackle. Forward units are being overrun. Tanks are reported moving through towns assumed safe. Every few minutes, a new map arrives, marked with thick red lines indicating German penetration. Each line is a dagger cutting into the Allied front. Omar Bradley leans in, pointing at the northern Bulge. Sepp Dietrich's 6th Panzer Army has already pushed past St. Vith. Our units are thin, sir. They're stretched. Eisenhower's mind races. His calm demeanor masks the calculation happening beneath the surface. Every decision now carries consequences for tens of thousands of soldiers. Every minute wasted allows German momentum to grow. At the same time, a call comes in from Air Chief Marshal Tedder. Supreme Commander, the cloud cover isn't lifting. Air support impossible for at least 24 hours. Eisenhower exhales slowly, his eyes scanning the map again. He knows the Ardennes is a labyrinth of forests and narrow roads. German panzers are exploiting it brilliantly, concentrating forces while the Allies are dispersed. The danger is clear. If the Germans can push to the Meuse River, they will split the Allied armies, severing supply lines and communications. Antwerp, the port, will be within striking distance. He pauses, imagining the chaos on the ground. Smoke rising from burning villages. American soldiers retreating, tanks abandoned on icy roads. The enemy using captured vehicles, forging road signs, cutting communications. Confusion reigns. Then another report, Bastogne completely encircled. The 101st is trapped, surrounded on all sides. Yet in the reports from the field there is determination, a grit that is almost tangible even through the radio. Eisenhower leans back. He knows that the crisis will test not just strategy, but leadership. Every division commander, every brigade, every soldier will be pushed to their limits. Morale will matter as much as firepower. He flicks his eyes toward Bradley. "We cannot allow the front to fracture," he says. "We will reinforce where we can, hold the crossroads, and buy time for counterattack." Outside the Versailles walls, the fog remains dense, a mirror of uncertainty. And somewhere in the Ardennes forests, German tanks thunder forward, unstoppable for now. December 17, 1944, 2:00 p.m. SHAEF Situation Room, Versailles. The room is tense, almost suffocating. Officers huddle over maps, pencils scratching, phones ringing endlessly. Eisenhower's eyes are steady, but inside, a storm rages. Every scenario he calculates carries deadly weight. One misstep, and the entire Allied front could fracture. Reports keep pouring in from the Ardennes. German panzer divisions have advanced farther than intelligence had predicted. American units are cut off. roads clogged with retreating troops and abandoned equipment. Villages that were quiet yesterday now smolder in flames. Eisenhower studies the numbers. Nearly 200,000 German soldiers, over 1,000 tanks and assault guns, coordinated in a single push. The scale is staggering. This is not a tactical probe. It is Hitler's final gamble in the West. And the stakes could not be higher. Antwerp, the port city crucial to Allied logistics, lies vulnerable. If the Germans seize it, supply lines for the entire Western Front could collapse. He turns to his staff. Omar Bradley, Courtney Hodges, and Walter Bedell Smith. Each of them understands the gravity of the moment. Bradley points to Bastogne. "The 101st is surrounded, sir. No reinforcements can get through without heavy casualties." Eisenhower nods, weighing every possibility. They could attempt an immediate counterattack, but units are stretched thin, morale strained, winter weather brutal. Air support is still grounded. Roads are narrow, snow-covered, and easily ambushed. Every option has risk. Every delay costs lives. He flicks through reports of enemy movements. Tigers and Panthers cutting paths through American defenses. Artillery raining destruction. Supply columns stranded in the mud. The Germans are advancing with terrifying precision. A junior officer interrupts with a new dispatch. "Sir, columns spotted near the Meuse. Estimated time to the river, 48 hours." Eisenhower's jaw tightens. If those tanks reach the Meuse, the Allied front splits. British forces in the north could be isolated from Americans in the south. Months of planning and hard-won ground might vanish in days. He lights another cigarette, the glow casting fleeting shadows across his face. The weight of command presses down on him like the Ardennes fog outside. Decisions must be made quickly, decisively. Hesitation is a luxury they cannot afford. Outside Versailles, the winter day wanes. Fog drifts across the gardens like smoke from distant fires. Somewhere in Belgium, German panzers thunder forward, unaware of the human drama unfolding at SHAEF. And Eisenhower knows that the next 24 hours could define the course of the war in Western Europe. The realization hits. This is no longer a diversion, no longer a minor offensive. It is a crisis that could split the Allied armies, endanger supply lines, and threaten everything they've fought to liberate. And he must act, before the Ardennes becomes a dagger striking straight at the heart of the Allied front. December 18, 1944, 3:30 a.m. Bastogne, Belgium. The town is buried under nearly 2 feet of snow. The cold bites through every layer of clothing, creeping into bones, freezing fingers around rifles and shivering hands on tank turrets. Street lamps cast weak, flickering glows on snow-dusted rooftops, where smoke rises from chimneys that barely manage to warm the few buildings still standing. The 101st Airborne is dug in, their foxholes shallow, water freezing in canteens, radios crackling with static. German tanks circle the town like predators, their engines grinding over icy roads. Artillery shells land outside, shaking walls, shattering windows, and sending showers of snow and splinters into the streets. Every explosion is a reminder: the town must not fall. Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe walks along the lines, eyes steely, boots crunching in the snow. Soldiers glance at him, tense and exhausted. They've heard the rumors: surrounded, outnumbered, cut off. McAuliffe stops at a frozen crossroads and surveys the approaching German columns. He lights a cigarette, inhales the smoke, and mutters, almost to himself, "Nuts." The soldiers laugh nervously. They know he means it literally and figuratively. The situation is insane, and yet they hold. Orders have come down from SHAEF: buy time at all costs. Every street, every house, every frozen rooftop is a defensive position. Meanwhile, at SHAEF, Eisenhower pores over the latest updates. Bastogne is encircled. His eyes flicker to the map, tracing the jagged red lines of the German advance. He knows that the town is critical. The crossroads here control the main arteries of movement through the Ardennes. Lose Bastogne, and the German advance gains speed, potentially cutting the Allied front in two. Eisenhower picks up the phone. Get every available unit moving toward Bastogne. Paratroopers, tanks, infantry, whatever can slow them. Outside, German artillery hammers the town. Snow and smoke swirl together, reducing visibility to almost nothing. The thunder of tanks shakes the earth beneath soldiers' feet. Communication lines fail. Chaos reigns, but the Americans dig deeper, fortifying every position, improvising defenses where none exist. Inside a command post, McAuliffe receives a demand for surrender. He reads it, smiles grimly, and scribbles a single word in response: nuts. The word echoes through the town, a mixture of defiance and disbelief. It travels back to SHAEF, reaching Eisenhower's ears. He allows a brief, rare smile. Against overwhelming odds, a small band of soldiers is holding firm. Yet even as he registers that flicker of hope, another report comes. German units are moving around Bastogne, probing weaknesses, setting the stage for a larger assault. Eisenhower leans back, the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. The crisis is far from over, and the Ardennes is still a storm of fire, steel, and snow. Somewhere beyond Bastogne, German tanks roar forward, unaware that a small town and its resolute defenders may be the fulcrum that halts their advance. The question lingers: can Bastogne hold long enough for reinforcements to arrive, or will it fall and let the Bulge widen into catastrophe? December 19, 1944, 9:00 a.m. SHAEF headquarters, Versailles. The room hums with tension. Maps cover every table, pins marking positions that change by the hour. Eisenhower studies them, eyes sharp, mind calculating. Every report from the Ardennes adds pressure. German armored columns are pushing westward, roads clogged with snow, retreating American vehicles and refugees. The Bulge is swelling. He picks up the phone. Calls are routed to the nearest corps and division commanders. Every message he delivers carries urgency and clarity. Reinforce Bastogne. Hold the Meuse line. Delay them at all costs. Eisenhower knows that a direct confrontation across the frozen roads could be disastrous. Instead, he plans a layered defense, a combination of stubborn resistance, counterattacks where possible, and the judicious use of mobile reserves. Speed and coordination are vital. Every hour the Germans are slowed buys the Allies a chance to regroup. Meanwhile in Bastogne, the 101st Airborne continues to hold. McAuliffe's soldiers dig deeper, fortifying houses, firing from rooftops and repelling probing attacks. Snow piles against their trenches, their fingers numb, but morale remains fierce. The defiance in that small town becomes a symbol, a beacon of resistance that Eisenhower monitors with both anxiety and hope. Elsewhere, armored units begin moving to counter the German advance. The U.S. 4th Armored Division, racing through snow and ice, is tasked with breaking through to Bastogne. Tanks grind along icy roads, engines roaring, drivers straining against mud and frozen ruts. Recon units report German flanks, probing weaknesses. Eisenhower follows their progress obsessively, issuing adjustments, redirecting forces, and anticipating the enemy's next moves. Reports from the field indicate that some German units are overextended. Fuel shortages and the speed of their advance are creating vulnerabilities. Eisenhower seizes this information. He begins orchestrating counterattacks, striking where the Germans cannot consolidate. It is a dangerous chess game. One mistake, and the Bulge could become a rupture that splits the Allied armies. In the operations room, Eisenhower remains composed, but the pressure is immense. He senses the weight of command more acutely than ever. Every decision will ripple across the Ardennes, affecting thousands of lives and the trajectory of the Western Front. Outside, German panzers continue to push forward, oblivious to the countermeasures forming behind them. The snow muffles the sounds of engines, but the menace is palpable. Eisenhower realizes that holding Bastogne and delaying the German advance is not just a tactical necessity. It is the turning point that could decide the outcome of the Ardennes offensive. And yet, despite careful planning, the question lingers. Can the Allies stabilize the front before the German momentum becomes unstoppable? December 21, 1944, 10:30 a.m. Bastogne, Belgium. Snow still blankets the town, but something has shifted. The 101st Airborne has held every street, every crossroads, every house. German tanks roar on the outskirts, but they are slowed, frustrated, their momentum blunted by determined resistance and clever defensive positioning. Artillery fire falls on enemy columns, coordinated with precision by American forward observers. Back at SHAEF, Eisenhower watches reports with a mix of tension and cautious relief. The countermeasures he ordered are starting to work. Units of the 4th Armored Division have broken through the snow-choked roads to relieve Bastogne. Supplies are reaching the trapped paratroopers. Reinforcements are in motion. He studies the maps. The red lines of German advance no longer stretch unchecked. The Bulge is still there, but its edges are being chipped away. American artillery and air support, the clouds finally beginning to lift, are beginning to strike with deadly accuracy. Every hour that Bastogne holds buys time for the Allies to regroup. Every German unit slowed or destroyed reduces the threat to Antwerp and the Meuse. Eisenhower's calculations, grim, precise, and unrelenting, are beginning to pay off. In Bastogne, soldiers cheer as reinforcements arrive. The town remains encircled, but morale surges. McAuliffe walks through the snow-covered streets, nodding at soldiers whose determination has turned a potential disaster into a symbol of defiance. "Hold the line," he says, and they do. Elsewhere in the Ardennes, German units begin to falter. Fuel shortages, overextended supply lines, and relentless Allied resistance slow the advance. Panzer columns that once roared through the forests now struggle to maneuver, caught in the snow, the trees, and the well-planned counterattacks. Eisenhower leans over his map one last time that evening, smoke curling from a cigarette. For the first time in days, he allows himself a measured breath. The crisis is far from over, but the turning point has arrived. The German offensive will not split the Allied armies. Antwerp is safe, for now. The initiative is beginning to shift back to the Allies. He knows the Ardennes winter offensive will be remembered as a testament to both German audacity and Allied resolve. But in that moment, the realization settles in. Leadership, planning, and sheer determination have blunted Hitler's last gamble. The fog outside Versailles begins to lift. Light filters through, reflecting off snow and frost. For Eisenhower, it is more than a meteorological change. It is a symbol that, despite the shock and fear, strategy and courage can turn the tide even in the darkest hours. And somewhere in the Ardennes forests, battered but unbroken, American soldiers prepare for the counteroffensive that will push the Germans back, one frozen mile at a time. And,